welcome to this week's edition of Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I'm your host, Bryon Kozowski, and beside me is...
Ben Durant.
How's it going, Ben?
Great, how are you?
Good. Today's episode is Season 2, Episode 9, but actually it's Episode 16, and by far my favorite episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
By far my favorite episode.
It is really good. I mean, like, just about every scene, there's something happening. You're getting new information. It feels like we're coming to the end of maybe this mystery.
Yeah, and it actually works like a good ending.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to show someone this show, I would say watch episodes 1 through 16 and be satisfied. Like, yeah. I will watch the whole thing, right. But I feel like 1 through 16, you could probably get away with just showing them that person that.
Yeah, if you want a satisfying ending where you're not scratching your head or not clear on stuff, maybe the first 16 are what you want to watch. I mean, I really still love the ending of this series. I love there's stuff I like about Firewalk with Me.
I'm excited to get to that.
Yeah, the movie there. So there's still plenty of stuff that are interesting, but this is a solid 16 episodes, and it's and there's always this debate whether should David Lynch never wanted to find out who killed Laura Palmer. Like, he's like, oh, we'll go 10 years, we'll go forever, and because that's the mystery. I mean, the idea is that it's like once, and there is some truth to this. If you take away the mystery of who killed Laura Palmer, people aren't going to be as interested. There's not as much. Yeah, there's not. Where
more
do you go
intrigue.
For that? But at the same time, you didn't get we wouldn't have got these amazing episodes if ABC didn't force them to wrap it up and stuff.
I agree,
so I mean, yeah. So and I guess since we're talking about the end, I watched this when it was originally on in 1990, and I thought it was the end of the series. I said, is it coming back next week? I mean, I really thought that was it. And it's like, I mean, it's not like I could run to the internet and be like, oh, what's happening next week and stuff. So it's kind of like I was scratching my head and it's like, I'll tune in. I'll see if it's on Saturday next week. But I really thought it might have been the end of the show.
I totally agree. I watched this going, wow, I feel so satisfied after watching this episode. Yeah. I feel satisfied, and I feel like, wow, I would be satisfied if that was the end. So, but I'm excited to see what goes beyond. I'm not beyond this episode. I'm pretty much on par with everything, and I'm still reeling. I watched this a couple of days ago, and I've been thinking about it and dying to talk about it. So I'm very excited for today.
And so why don't I talk about the episode? I mean,
give us the facts before we get into it.
Okay, so this is episode 16, and it's written by Mark Frost, Harley Payton, and Robert Angles. It's directed by Tim Hunter.
Now, Tim Hunter, not to interrupt you,
yes,
but has he ever directed an episode before?
I thought he did. I wish I could remember which one he did. He's well known for a River's Edge film.
Oh, okay.
And but I thought he did it. I wish I could remember which one he might.
The directing in this the directing in this episode is by far the best. Even not to take away from David Lynch's, his style is a lot different, but the style of this episode is very cinematic.
Yeah.
Almost like you're watching an action cop movie. The camera angles, very different for Twin Peaks, I thought. They looked like there are high angles below. When they're in the diner, you have like this weird looking up, looking down. Like, I noticed it right away because it was a big departure for Twin Peaks. A normal episode. It felt very different. It felt special.
If I remember right, I mean, I might be confusing directors, but I feel like he was given a lot more leeway than any of the other directors on the show.
Really?
Like, I think because of his film directing experience, and they trusted his style, that he might be able to do some angles and things that there wasn't a lot of things that the directors had to follow, but I think that certain things they weren't allowed to do a certain angle, and I think he had a little more freedom on what he could do.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably my favorite part of this episode is just the directing, the way the angles were, the cinematography, everything about it was so cool. It's so different. So Tim Hunter directed this episode. It aired on December 1st, 1990.
The ratings was a 5.4. It was in the 83 place for the week.
So that was 70 70 something last week.
Yeah, was it 60 or 70? Yeah, it was something
Yeah.
like that. So again, it's not as good. But so what I thought I'd think about is like, so this is 5.4. I think in today's standards for television, you have a football game, which is probably the most popular thing of the week. It might place 1 point something. You know what I mean? So like, if a TV show could get a 5.4 rating today, that would be an amazing, it would be unbelievable ratings and stuff.
many
So it's
options,
but it's just, that's right. Today we have the internet, we have a lot more TV channels, and we have the DVRs, and so people don't watch TV as much. So it's kind of too bad that like, this would be successful if you could get that. And that's in some ways you wonder why if they're, we're seeing these these TV shows returning like X-Files and stuff, and maybe they think, hey, if X-Files can get the same numbers they got when they were originally on, maybe we should bring it back and get great ratings and stuff. Like they don't need as high ratings as they did in the past. But,
and I think when it airs, it's building this following, and then over these years, it's collected a cult following, and that cult following has grown up and shown other people. And I think so much time has passed that the ratings will be very good for season 3. I bet you anything there'll be really a lot of people will be tuning in. Yeah.
So Tim Hunter did direct 3 episodes of Twin Peaks. He directed the 5th episode of the first season, and this episode, and then he another one. I actually think it might be the episode, the second to last episode. I might be wrong about that, but it's near the end of the series that he will direct one more time.
Cool. I liked his style. It was really cool.
So I thought it would be interesting to say too is that the show wasn't on the week before because it was Thanksgiving. So I mean, every once in a while they'll take a week off. But to go from what was last week? Yeah, last week was 15. So that was the week where we already knew that Maddie was killed and Leland was kind of like playing golf and things. We kind of realized there was who the murderer was and that he was getting away with it and stuff. So it's funny to go from there and then have to wait 2 weeks before we get to this episode.
Yeah, Thanksgiving. You have your Thanksgiving dinner, and then we get to find out what the heck's going to happen.
Yeah. So where are we going to start here?
The log lady. The log lady on the Blu-ray.
Right, the intros, the log lady intros.
It's interesting because what she said kind of corresponds. I don't know if you saw the log lady for this one.
I did not. I don't know what my deal is with not watching the log lady. I like the log lady. I think I want to go back to my childhood and just watch the show as I remember it. And I do want to. I actually still, whether we do it on this show or not, I do want to go through all the log ladies and watch them again and stuff. But tell me about the log lady.
The log lady. We know, but why? That's basically her pig. That's the gist. I'm paraphrasing.
Actually, I did watch this.
We know, but why?
Right.
And in this episode, there is a great conversation, and they actually are thinking out loud to each other why.
End of the episode here, the whole
my favorite part.
Yeah,
it's so
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So we know that the murder happened, but do we understand why that something like happened?
Yeah.
So I think that's, I mean, David Lynch is the one that's writing the log lady intros. So in a way, he's kind of like, and the thing is, he can kind of, the series has already happened, and the movie has already happened, and it's 1993, and he can work on these log lady intros. So he, in a way, he can look back and kind of reshape things.
Yep.
So by log lady saying this, is kind of like, you think you know the answer, or you think you got everything, but there's more mystery out there. And I do like that, but he can kind of reshape it. So that's another thing that's kind of weird. It's almost like, what do they call that? Quarterback, I can't even think what you're thinking, but to be able to look back on something like that. Hindsight is 2020 or something like that. So I don't know, but that kind of twists things too in a way. It's like
because it shifts your view almost of watching it. If I didn't see the log lady, I wouldn't think about that. Because I saw it the whole time. I'm going, what does she mean?
Right.
And
and there's still, I think I don't know if it was the last episode you were telling me about the log lady, or 2 episodes ago, but it really, that episode about Circle, about pain and Circle, I feel like it really is appropriate for this episode. And that's why when you bring these things up, I don't want to talk about sometimes the log lady, because I really felt like that conversation, or that thing that she had about going full circle and the pain and all that really is appropriate to what we're going to talk.
Oh, definitely. So the first shot of the episode reminded me of Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Because and we get to find out that Albert's back.
Yeah.
Albert's back, so that was really cool.
The funny thing is that Gordon Cole's like, Albert will not be coming back.
I know, and then
he comes back.
The next episode, he's back.
I think we spoke about that the actor had another job, and he would come back when he wasn't working on that job.
Okay.
So I think that's how it came about.
This was an appropriate episode to be back in.
Oh yeah.
But I just like the beginning. They're all walking slow.
I'm trying to remember the music for the Reservoir Dogs, but it's like like
little green bag.
Yeah, little green bag. You could totally put the music on as Albert and Cooper and Truman and Hawk are walking down the road together.
I bet you someone has. I bet it's on YouTube.
If not,
somewhere.
somebody do that.
I would love to see that. So they find a letter O in the nail, in Maddie's nail. Oh. And I think we saw Leland do that actually. Put the letter underneath the nail. And
I think we already talked about it because we know of the European ending. We know that it's going to spell Robert or Robertson, but and it does talk about it in this episode as well.
They do talk about how it's going to spell Robert Bob, and we did mention that a while ago. Bob was another version of Robert.
Yes.
The duality. One name can have dual meanings. We did hit upon that, and I was very proud of ourselves because I was like, we nailed that. We nailed the whole duality with the names.
Oh yeah.
So that was really cool. So also, in my notes, just follow to Cooper. Why did I write just follow to Cooper? Is
this where Albert's
White Fox?
So
no.
All right, let's go into the fox.
Yes, the fox.
Do you know what that's from now? Or
well, okay. I did mention last episode, or no,
it was a few episodes
ago. Leland walks in and he sits down
in Ben Horn's office.
And he sees the white fox and he pulls a fur.
Yeah, it's like, what is he doing?
And I said to you, what does that mean? You're like, nothing.
Nothing.
And you're so good at hiding.
Oh, good. So I do have a poker face a little bit.
Because I was like, they mentioned the white fox.
Yes.
And then there's a scene where they're staring at the white fox.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, it did mean something.
But and this is funny. At the time, you were thinking it was Ben Horn was the killer too. So I wasn't sure if you knew it was Leland or not. And it's like, I am not going to say anything till we get to that end.
I got you.
If I felt like if I could say anything, that's Leland is basically taking that to frame Ben Horn as the killer.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think at some point Albert's gonna basically say trust your instincts and follow and maybe that's what he's talking about. Albert's
because he says to do your dance, do it.
All right, here you go. Bring it up. That sounds good.
An observation.
This is
I don't know where this is headed, but the only one of us with the coordinates for this destination in his hardware is you. Go on whatever vision quest you require. Stand on the rim of the volcano. Stand alone and do your dance. Just find this beast before he takes another bite.
That's exactly... That was such a cool little
especially coming from Albert, who's very pessimistic and he's not really... He's kind of like, listen... And usually he makes jokes like, oh, you saw a giant and you do this. And he's like, you know what? You're the only person that can figure this out. You've been right pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
Just follow your instincts and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. And it was such a cool scene. And I was just like, yeah. So Cooper, they know. He's the key to figure this out. Now they jump back to James and Donna. And it's like a promise ring. I mean, there's not much we really have to cover here.
Well, the only thing I'll cover is that there seems to be a theme in this episode with rings, and I thought it was interesting that
the parallels of the rings.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So we have James, the promise ring, and then later on we'll have Cooper's ring, and later on we also have one-armed man talking about a ring as well, or at least a full circle and stuff. So it's just, I like that there's that duality of triple-ality.
Yes, the whole ring thing is in this episode.
And what does the ring mean, really? I mean,
a promise ring.
It's a promise, but I mean, it's a promise. I mean, it's a promise. It's a package agreement between these lovers. It's a package agreement between Cooper and this giant spiritual thing. And it seems like there's a pack agreement between Mike and Bob. I know we're getting ahead, and we won't get too much more into that. But I mean, I think that's the whole idea of the ring, that you're kind of like you're agreeing to kind of work together and have this partnership and stuff. But
yeah. And at first I'm like, is he gonna propose? I was like, oh, it's just a promise ring. All right, well.
I won't ever cheat on you again with Maddie.
Yeah. Even though,
and it's kind of funny that, like, Maddie just died, and now they're back to like, oh, life is good again.
No, but do they know Maddie's dead?
No,
they don't
you're
know.
right.
They don't
you're
even
absolutely
know.
right. I'm ahead. You're right. They don't know.
They don't know. But they go to the next scene, which I don't know. We don't have to talk too much about, but just the directing of this mundane scene between
Norma's mom is spitting out the food, doesn't like it.
But look at the angles. That I was saying, like it's like different. Usually, Twin Peaks diner scene is head on. All the time. Just
and
head on.
and they would always complain that they had a hard time shooting in the diner because there wasn't a lot of room. But it looks good. It looks great.
Yeah, it's like the eggs are bad, and I don't know really. It's not much of anything.
Right. And then I think James and Donna see Andy, and he's saying,
"Oh, he's talking French."
And it's like, I'm a lonely soul.
Yeah,
I think that was one of the last things that. But she says, "Do you know Miss Trumond, who lives next door to Harold, and stuff?" So I think there's trying to put a connection there that maybe. Yeah,
it's just a connection. Why was he there just speaking French for no reason? And
well, so in our the 1-900 hotline messages, he did say, I think it was one of those messages that he said that he took French class in high school or something like that. I mean, at least you get a connection of a backstory of Andy, but
but basically,
and now she's got to go find Agent Cooper here to find out that she might have more information about this mystery.
Exactly. So that basically, Andy being in the diner just pushes Donna to go find Cooper.
Yeah. So maybe we should bring up some audio because I like this stuff. And
sure.
She has a grandson, and he said this to me, the same words that are in Harold Smith's suicide note.
Well, maybe the boy said the same thing to Harold.
No, Harold's world was in his words. The suicide note has to be a message. And it all leads back here.
All right, we can bring it down, and then we'll go back.
It doesn't really. There's a woman.
Right.
You come to find out the lady who supposedly was never there.
Yeah, so Mrs. Trumond is not as an old lady, and there's no grandson, and it's some other lady, which is a weird mystery and stuff.
Yeah, so who do you think the old lady was with the kid? Because she's like...
I have theories, but I'll share it with you at some point.
So you think Donna was seeing another dead person?
Maybe, or something related to that, yeah. So, in the unseen Twin Peaks, in the script, I think she mentions to Cooper, she only delivered meals to Miss Tremond home once, and then the rest of the time she was told to just leave the food on the steps. So, in a way, it's kind of interesting. It's like, was she there all the time, or was it always this woman? But it was interesting that... So now she has a note from Harold, and I think I'd love to have the audio up again for this part. So she's going to open up the letter from Harold here.
It's Laura's diary.
Oh.
Page from her diary.
Read it.
February 22nd. Last night I had the strangest dream. I was in a red room with a small man dressed in red and an old man sitting in a chair. I tried to talk to him. I wanted to tell him who Bob is because I thought he could help me. But my words came out slow and odd. It was frustrating trying to talk. I got up and walked to the old man. Then I leaned over and whispered the secret in his ear. Somebody has to stop Bob. Bob's only afraid of one man. He told me once. A man named Mike. I wonder if this was Mike in my dream.
Yeah, this scene was so cool.
Yeah. And this kind of goes back to when we were at doing episode 1, we were discussing it. I brought up that in the script there was the episode ends with Dr. Jacoby listening to his tapes from Laura, and it ends with Laura saying, "I had a dream, and in this dream was." Basically, this was the whole Red Room, and basically, and so it's kind of cool that it did come back to the show, later on.
Yeah, and like how Laura and Cooper had a dream together.
Yeah,
or
right?
the same dream.
Yeah, right.
But she was already dead, and he had the dream, so he was receiving the dream from her in the afterlife.
Yeah, it's complicated, right?
Yeah, right. Is that the mystery? We don't know why.
Is it a vision? Is it a mystery? Is it the future? Is it the past? It's pretty insane. And she brings up this whole thing about the only person that can stop Bob is Mike, and she thinks that Cooper could be Mike. And in the script, I think Cooper just says it's not that important, but in her dream, I was Mike or something like that. But so But I like this idea of. If Mike is, at least it seems almost like Mike is a hero. He can stop Bob, and in some ways, Cooper could be that hero that could possibly stop Bob and stuff.
Exactly.
But I like that idea that maybe we now know Mike is the one person that can maybe stop this.
Yeah. So we know who the killer is. We know who's possessed the killer, and then we know who the hero is. But there's 2 killers and there's 2 heroes. I mean, you have Cooper and you have Mike and you have Leland and you have Bob.
Yep.
Duality.
True. Cool.
Duality on both sides, right?
It's awesome.
So the ring / the giant will help him find Bob. And I think after this scene,
I think you're right.
Jumping too ahead.
You're right. We're gonna go see Mike now.
Oh, Mike's in bed, the one-armed man. So after this episode,
well, why don't we bring up the audio again? Because I have things to talk about with this.
Bob is killed again. I need to know something. I need you to help me. Bob was in my dream, Laura Palmer was in my dream, so were you. And Laura dreamt about me the night before she died. The same dream that I had. I need to unlock that. I need the answer is inside of me.
Bob and I, when we were killing together, there was this perfect relationship. Appetite, satisfaction, a golden circle.
Golden circle.
There's the ring.
Yep, his ring. He gave his ring to the giant and stuff.
So after this scene, is this when they go to?
No. This is a big scene, though. I mean, he's basically Mike is saying that they killed together and that they have this relationship.
They killed together.
Yeah. And in the script, I mean, this is Unseen Twin Peaks. He says Bob is a fire spirit, so we are both creatures of fire. I mean, they didn't put that, and maybe that's too cheesy, and maybe that doesn't work, but it's still interesting. But yeah, Bob and I, when we were killing together, there was a perfect relationship, appetite, satisfaction, and a golden circle and stuff like that. There's this union. There was this some kind of relationship, and we know that when Mike saw the face of God, and it's funny, sometimes you hear these biblical things, but you don't. I mean, it doesn't mean our Christian God. It can mean something else. But when he saw the face of God, he tore his arm off, and he was changed, and he wasn't part of this relationship with Bob anymore.
Yeah, and it's interesting because he tore his arm off to not be
evil, I guess. Yeah.
But he still has the spirit in him.
Yeah.
So the spirit's not evil anymore? Because he said he took the arm off to get rid of the spirit, but he's still being possessed because we go between 2 different characters with him.
Right.
We go between the shoe salesman, I don't know what's going on, to he doesn't take his medication and then he gets possessed.
So I mean, Mike is just like Leland. Or maybe if we understand Leland, that he's just. I mean, I should say Philip Gerard. Philip Gerard is the host. and then there's a spirit within him. So
the
I would
spirit-
look at it as almost the spirit is the arm has been cut off. But I mean,
But it's still
not like
there.
it's not a physical.
Yeah, because he's talking to the spirit right now, and he does that deep voice.
Right.
That is not Gerard.
Right.
That's the spirit.
Mike, right.
It's Mike. So the spirit is still in him, but it decided it couldn't do no harm.
The actor, I don't know if this is true, but the actors felt that both Bob and Mike had tattoos on them.
That's what it was. It was a tattoo.
Right. And in the physical world, Philip Gerard would say it said "Mom," but I believe that for the spirits it said, I think it said "Firewalk with Me" or something.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure that's what it said.
Yeah. So they cut the arm off.
Right.
And he got rid of the appetite of wanting to kill.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And it will come up again later on down the road. We might have some more answers about the arm.
Yeah.
And stuff,
So it's the spirit that had the change of heart.
Right. It's not it's not the man. It's not
him.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into.
But yeah,
more.
so you had some other things you wanted to talk about too. What was?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. So
it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, next week we're gonna have Joel on again.
Joel Bacco.
Yeah, Joe Bacco,
And we're gonna have a whole episode where we're just gonna talk about the killer. So I
Yeah.
think we're gonna try to break it down. I mean, I want to look at a lot of basically the past 16 and see where there might be clues where it showed that Leland was the killer. And I know, you have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so I think
and,
I'll pin
I know
it here.
Joel has a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so we'll get into more of that kind of stuff next week. So definitely tune in next week. It should be an awesome show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So yeah. Also, after this episode, I don't know if I want to bring it up here. Maybe I will. I've slightly changed my mind. I kind of your thought about a couple episodes ago when Mike he goes running into the room to escape the room.
Oh yeah.
And the cop he hits the cop over the head, and
Right.
then the camera pans up and he's gone out of the room. And you're like, don't you think he turned into an owl?
I mean, you had no reference to that.
I didn't until this episode.
I know
though.
that,
Until
right.
this episode, because I mean it's implied, or maybe but like the spirits are the owls,
Right, that's what I believe.
and that's how they get around so quickly. And
Yeah,
Bob got from there to there pretty quick.
Or I actually wondered if they're not in humans and they want to move around, right? They would maybe
Yeah.
move around through the owls, maybe.
Yeah. So then I thought your theory wasn't so far fetched.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Joel too what he thought of that and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was implied or we're just supposed to be like, oh, he just mysteriously disappeared and
Yeah. But I like that theory now, because a one-armed guy jumping out a window doesn't seem that quickly.
Right.
Seemed a little far-fetched.
What do you want to talk about next? Because I know.
Well, what goes next? The old man. It's funny.
Right, I always call him the waiter.
The
I guess,
waiter,
right?
and he's like, but it's getting warmer now. His milk was cold, and now he's getting warmer. So I think the milk metaphor is saying you're getting warmer to the killer.
Yep.
And you'll have
Right.
hot milk when you'll find who the killer is. Your milk will
Well,
be
it's
hot.
like, you play the game of like you hide something and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're getting warmer. Oh, colder, warm.
That's exactly what this guy's doing with the
Right.
milk.
Now, does it seem odd to you that I think I brought this up to you. Do you think he's somehow related to
The giant. I
And-
do.
Yeah.
There's the fox.
Yep. So
that I've been harping on for the last couple weeks.
Cooper is looking at the fox in Ben Horn's office,
Yeah.
and
White stuff fox.
yeah.
Clues, and now still, the clues they think point to Ben, but I still feel they have no hard evidence. They have all these clues. Yeah, there's a phone call and the white fox and all this stuff, but there's no hard evidence. And
Yeah.
then they get the blood test, and I'm assuming because they don't give it to us on the show that the blood test doesn't match.
No, I think it did.
It did?
I think it. I
don't remember.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought right around the. I thought
Did they
near
mention it?
the jail cell they said we thought it matched, but it doesn't match or something. But maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe they didn't say.
Because I remember Albert gives him the blood test,
Yeah.
and they cut away.
Okay.
I believe they don't mention the blood test. See, Blanhor's blood test.
You want to bring it up here? So
Yeah,
since
and
we're
then-
talking about it here. Cooper's showing Truman.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
you're
that's
right.
it.
You're right.
Yeah.
They didn't show.
They don't. It's like sort of like this mystery. Like
All right. The funny thing is, to the audience, it doesn't need to be a mystery because we already know who the killer is. So it's kind
Exactly.
of silly in a way that
but
like they didn't.
Yeah, and so I think I don't think it matches. Now, Lucy
And yeah, Lucy and Andy are still talking baby stuff, and
sperm
Dick
stuff,
and
yeah,
is Dick the father and all that stuff. but
I skipped over it.
I don't think we need to get
No,
into it. And then we also have another scene with Ben and Mr. T there, Mr. Tarja Marja.
Okay, Mr. T comes clean. It's
Wait,
Kathleen.
right.
Shows Ben her foot.
Right.
With,
In the first season, he kissed her feet
Yes.
and stuff. He loves it.
he loves his foot fetish. And basically, long story, very short, Catherine gave Ben and says, hey, if you sign this back over to me, I will say you're innocent.
Yes.
He does it, gives it back to her, and she's like, well, maybe not.
Screw you.
Yeah, and Ben starts freaking out.
Aw,
So,
that's right.
I mean, other than everything else, this was the loose, the one plot line that's going to continue to the next episode.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother me that much, you know.
Yeah.
But this is this is that like one loose string.
Yeah, there's a few loose strings, but like, do we care?
Yeah,
enough?
I don't really care if
Yeah.
Ben Horn gets his property back. But I
Or if he
mean,
goes to jail. I mean, yeah.
but they know he's innocent.
Yeah, right.
Because they figure it out. And so Catherine, she gets her property back. Ben's just screwed now. I mean, he doesn't have property, but he gets his freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought this scene coming up right now was with Leland.
Leland's comes and Donna stops by.
Yes. Now, I think Donna starts getting Leland paranoid about the diary because she mentions we got a page of the diary. He's like, oh, the police took that diary. No, the secret diary. And
Yeah.
he gets so like, oh no.
Yeah.
And he's getting sloppy because the fact that it's broad daylight and then it looks like he's going to kill Donna
Right.
in broad daylight and then the doorbell rings, to me, it's sort of like he's kind of losing control.
I think he's losing control, and I think maybe he feels like I think there's only so much time before this time with Leland is gonna be up and stuff. I feel like, and he's been so reckless. I mean, we've seen him driving the car all over the place, and he's like, I'm unstoppable.
Yeah.
I'm bulletproof, and now it's starting to come down.
Like he wanted to bash Cooper's head in with a golf club
Too
in
funny.
broad daylight, like with another cop, like maybe 10 feet away.
Now in the script, the original script still had Ben as the killer. So like a lot of these scenes, especially when we get to the jail, it's still Ben who is playing this part. I mean, it doesn't mean the actor did it, but at the time they wanted, in case it was leaked, it would still come off as Ben is saying all this dialogue. So I don't remember if in this scene if Ben is talking to Donna, but it's definitely later on in the episode it's Ben who's in the jail. And
Oh, is it?
yeah.
So, like, just the look,
I don't think he knows about. He might not know about Harold. I mean, there was a whole question of was Harold involved with Bob and all this, but he seems to be really surprised, Leland, there that about Harold and the diary.
I don't think he knows anything about. I think that Laura kept a lot of secrets from a lot of people. So.
And I don't know, and he brings up the glasses. Those are Laura's glasses, which I think is a trigger for him too. That like he's killed Maddie partly probably because it makes him think of Laura, and then to have the glasses on Donna probably triggers it too to think about Laura.
Yeah, and then he does the classic look in the mirror, and there's Bob. That's what Bob's taking over. Well, I think Bob has let go, but Bob is in full form.
Yeah,
So they do
he gets his gum, takes out some gum. And
now that's the other thing, the gum.
Yes.
The gum takes
center stage. I know, because you've been asking me several episodes ago. The one mystery that never happened was that the gum was like that gum you like is coming back in style, and it becomes it's part of this episode.
Yeah. The gum. It's weird. He chews the gum, and then that's when he decides to. Like, you see Bob.
Yeah.
And I think when he was in the car, and he saw Bob. Didn't he chew gum?
I can't remember that.
And then
I don't think gum triggered Bob.
but I was thinking about that. I was like, this thing.
It's like some kind of antidote. It's like if I pop this in, I'll become super.
But Cooper pops gum.
Does Cooper do
Yes.
it? When
yes.
does that happen?
It
In this
happens.
episode?
Yes.
Oh, you mean like I mean the Roadhouse?
Yes.
There? Oh yeah.
So the gum is like a trigger.
Oh, that's
Isn't that
funny.
weird?
Yeah.
You know why? Because they mentioned the gum in the dream.
Right.
So why would you mention that? And he's the killer, and he's chewing gum.
Yeah.
And then when they're in the roadhouse,
Well, let's get there. Let's get.
Okay, all right.
We'll get there.
so I wrote, so Bob wants to kill Donna. So we discussed all this. We know.
Yep.
Agent Briggs comes back. The Roadhouse.
You want to go to the Roadhouse?
Yeah,
now?
we'll go to the Roadhouse.
Okay. So yeah, we have the whole Donna and James and Maddie's been murdered, and then we get to the Roadhouse.
Yeah. Now Agent Briggs. We see Agent Briggs. Everybody's coming in.
Yeah. Well, let's see. One of the people that came by, which I thought was funny, was Big Ed. Like most of these people are supposed to be suspects, and it's like, why is Big? I've always wondered, like, why is Big Ed show up here? Like, is it because he's a bookhouse boy? But the other, that's probably what it is. But the other thing is in the script. If you remember in the last script, he was Leland's part. He was the one driving crazy on the road. Like in the script, it was Big Ed, and he was the one looking in the mirror, Bob. So I was wondering if they were kind of covering themselves. And by just bringing him in because he could be Bob, but he's not.
I think it's because he's a big guy. He could take care of stuff if something went down.
Yeah, but I didn't know if they were covering their tracks with the scripts.
I got you. Yeah, that could be.
Maybe. But you're okay. So I think the last person to show up was Major Briggs with the waiter.
With the waiter.
Yeah.
So that tells you that the waiter is a real person. I would always imagine that the waiter was like the Giants lackey and nobody else saw the waiter. But for some reason, Agent Briggs sees the waiter, and everybody else seems to too.
Yeah, so. and when after Cooper got shot, Albert did interview the waiter, and I forgot what something like Drupal or Droopy or
Droopy,
something like that. But like he did make fun of the waiter, so Albert did interview the waiter, so he is real.
He is real.
At some point, I want to talk about it. I can't figure out when is a good time to talk about it, but I like just having this discussion about the waiter, and he's a mystery.
He's a mystery too. He's a mystery on itself.
Yeah. So, someone's missing, and then the clock, and then we have, and I love that the waiter just flags him down. He's kind of like probably walking in the rain and says, "Can you please bring me to the Roadhouse?
I need to go." But yeah, I mean, who knows? The waiter could be. He could be like have this like he knows.
So why don't we bring up?
Oh, the gum.
Yeah.
See,
waiter gives him some gum.
The gum triggers the past because Cooper.
I know that gum. I used to chew it when I was a kid.
And then
that's my most favorite gum in the world.
That gum you like is going to come back in style.
All right, that's very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. That's where I was like, the gum connection. Does the gum trigger the past? Because this is when Cooper takes the gum, and in my notes I hit "my father killed me" when he actually hears what Laura said.
And if we use the Red Room, where for the whole series so far, the Red Room has been like giving clues. Mm-hmm. You see the red curtain. Well, there was curtains in Jacques' cabin, and there's been different things happening. My arms bend back, and it was because the rope had tied Laura back. And when the birds sing a pretty song, there's music in the air. In the Jacques' cabin, but there's all these different things that like the dream, and then there's actually a reality in the real world that these things are happening. It seems like this is the last real dialogue from the dream to come true is about the gum. But the big thing is that like Leland shares with us that when he was a kid, he chewed that gum and stuff, which. I mean, maybe as we get to the rest of this episode, I'll talk more about. But I think it's really important. Again, he brought up his childhood. When he in the summers, he would go to his grandfather's place, and that's where he met Bob originally when he was a kid. And now here again, he's got this. When he was a kid, he chewed this gum, and I keep thinking that it seems like we're linked to his childhood. And
a full circle.
Yeah.
And was chewing the gum when he wanted to kill Donna, And I'm assuming he must have been chewing gum at some point too. But yeah, does the gum help him think about the past? And it's all connected somehow.
Yeah, or I think it's just
a trigger. It's like
I actually, part of me kind of wonders, like, if we look at it as possibly that there is really a Leland and there is a Bob.
Yeah.
The Leland, the human part of him that maybe doesn't know about Bob, maybe he is appreciating when he was a kid, he loved gum, and in this episode, I think in one of the episodes he talks to Maddie about how much he loved his summer, the summers at the Pearl Lake and stuff. So he almost clings to the past. He clings to his childhood, and there's. This episode by the end of this episode, I think we're understanding why maybe he enjoyed his when he was younger, than maybe not now.
Yeah. And Bob's using that gum to make him trigger stuff.
So his final triggered, and now he finally remembers that Laura said, "My father killed me."
And Cooper is so good at keeping that a secret. Because he has the killer in the room,
and now the giant gives back his ring.
So
now this is this is not your typical mystery show. You know what I mean? Like, no. you don't usually have these supernatural things happening to solve a mystery. Usually it's kind of like, we did the DNA and we figured it out, but it's kind of cool. I mean, I like this kind of supernatural.
Yeah, me too.
Element of the show.
He gets the ring, and so he knows who the killer is, and I like the way it's played out. I mean, I know what they're doing.
Yeah. The only strange thing about it is that, like, could you really see that, like, Leland, I would like you to be the attorney of your daughter's killer? I mean, like, in the real world, there's no way Leland would be like, sure, I'll represent Ben. He killed Jacques. Why would he be like, well, I'll help Ben with his case? But
I feel like in the moment,
I know we shouldn't overthink it. We should just say Leland is a lawyer. It makes sense that he could represent him, because he's being processed.
And he's right there. Yeah. I think it's sort of like that excuse to get Leland to go with him.
Oh, that definitely is. There's no doubt about that.
But I hear you. And also, he killed someone. But he's a great character to be your lawyer. I get it. Yeah, it makes no sense.
My daughter, but So they're taking Ben away to jail, and they're processing, and Leland confirms that, like, so they're gonna go. He's gonna go to he's the murderer and stuff.
Yep. And you can just see Leland. He doesn't know what's going on, or Bob.
So if they go back to the police station, and Cooper whispers into Truman's ear a plan, and it looks like they're gonna lock up Leland here.
But they do the old switcheroo, and they throw Leland in there instead of Ben, which is really cool. Because they know. I think the blood test and everything. I think they know.
Why don't we bring up the audio? And I think. Yeah. So he's making some owl sounds. Who?
Yeah. And it looks like he's trying to fly out too. Yeah.
That's not Leland.
I think he's gonna. Here we go.
Laura told me in her dream.
We're gonna need a lot stronger evidence than this.
How about a confession, Harry?
This is tough because I could like listen to this whole thing. But...
Yeah.
If you cannot.
All right. We'll go. So he basically.
Yeah. Bob is in Leland and says his body. He said he took his body because he's weak. Because Leland's weak, he has better control over his body.
Right.
And it is cool. Like Leland, the actor,
Ray Wise.
Really shines in this episode.
Oh, he does. He's amazing. And
he reminds me of like the Joker.
He's got kind of a Joker face to him.
Yeah, like almost like he's super villain. Like he's like
why don't you bring up again?
I guess I kinda sorta did. I have this thing for knives.
Just like what happened to you in Pittsburgh that time.
Now, Pittsburgh, is that going to be brought up again?
Yes, and this I think this still goes back to some things that we know about.
He was shot or something.
Yeah,
he was
wounded.
Yeah,
and we know about he has a partner that's gone AWOL and stuff like that. But like, why does Bob know this? Like, Bob has he knows history about him and stuff, and I think that really does spook Cooper that he would have he knows stuff and
then he admits to the other murder too.
Yeah, right. So he confesses to the Teresa Banks murder. So it's all wrapped up here.
Yeah.
He talks about children too, which is kind of interesting in some ways that he has children. I kind of feel like it's his minions or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, like a Charles Manson sort of thing. Maybe not.
And then I think in a second he'll go. Cooper will talk a little bit more about why we can connect, Leland to the.
Yes, and that's what I want to bring up.
Yeah. So why don't we bring up some right now?
Is that when they're going to do it?
Yeah, I think so. No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're going to Lucy.
No, I think we're going to go to Lucy next.
Okay, so we got the Dick, Andy, and Lucy.
Which
show.
I'm gonna mention before we're gonna gloss over the Dick, Lucy, and Andy side plot with the baby. Dick is quite interesting that Lucy decides to keep the baby. So what does Dick do? He lights up a cigarette and smokes in front of a pregnant woman.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
Yeah,
but I mean,
it was the '90s when smoking in public places was okay.
I mean, I think she still wouldn't. I don't think she still appreciates it.
But it's so funny. He just starts smoking a cigarette.
The thing is, I think there is some no smoking signs all over, and I think even Albert smokes at some point. And it's
they all do.
But it's no smoking signs, but it's a great device to get the smoke for the sprinkler system to go off.
Because prior you had this really bad repair guy going, "Don't want to make it too sensitive," foreshadowing that these alarms will go off.
Right. Just oh, too funny.
It's a little foreshadowing for everybody.
So maybe we can. I think we can bring up the audio again now.
Yeah.
Or do you have something else?
No. This is the scene. Well, yeah. I'll bring up the audio. Oh, the smoke. So this is it.
Ben Horn's blood test. He's the wrong type. Harry, the answer was right in front of me from the very beginning. What did the little man do in my dream?
He danced.
After Laura's death, Leland danced compulsively. We were told that Bob the killer was a gray-haired man. When Leland killed Jock, his hair turned gray overnight.
The gray hair. Remember we talked about the gray hair?
Right, the white hair, gray. Yeah.
And I mentioned how he killed Jock and his
hair turned white overnight. Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God.
Right. And I don't know. I don't know if I buy it as much, but I mean, you got to connect it and stuff like that. I always thought the white hair was just because of stress and stuff. Or you actually were probably more right that it happened right after Jacques, so it's almost like a tell that he did kill somebody, or I don't know.
Yeah, like I think my thing was because I didn't know at the time he was a killer or possessed or whatever, but yeah, it was the stress or something. But his hair turning gray overnight was pretty. Like a clue. So like if I'm looking back, I would take that into consideration. But someone who didn't know, I didn't think any. In my head, I'm thinking, did the actor have a different job? Did he have to dye his hair gray for something? Like I didn't know. But yeah, I heard that. I'm like, aha! It was like an aha moment. Aha!
Leland said when he was a child, the gray-haired man who lived next door was named Robertson. Mike said the people Bob inhabited were his children. Robertson, son of Robert. The letters under the fingernails, R-O-B-T, Bob was spelling his name. A signature on a
we already knew this, but...
Yeah.
Why would he kill her?
Laura was writing about Bob in her diary. Leland found it, ripped out the pages. She knew he was onto her. It was Leland who placed that call from Ben Horn's office to Laura the night she died. He was the third man outside Jock's cabin window. He took the girls to the train car. It was his blood we found, not Ben Horn's.
Then why kill Maddie?
Maybe she reminded him of Laura. Maddie was going home. Perhaps he couldn't bear to part with her.
So, like, Cooper just lays it out. And a lot of the stuff we hit upon on doing the show.
Yeah. And I, of course, knew. But you did it. You did it on your own. You figured that out. And
I know. I was pretty proud of myself in some of that stuff. Like, oh, my God. And, in some instances, it didn't mean anything at the time. But now that Cooper's saying it. I'm sure a lot of people watching this. And he says, "Fire, walk with me."
Yeah, he's got the whole poem that the one-armed man said in the dream. He's repeating it again and stuff. And I promise I will kill again. And so then now he's gonna and basically Bob's gonna kill. I mean, Leland's killing himself, or Bob's killing himself at the wall. running into the wall, hitting his head on the door, and the sprinkler system goes off.
Of course, because Dick is too busy smoking in front of pregnant women.
And I definitely think we should have a little bit of audio of Leland here.
Yeah, and when he smashes his head against the door and he's bleeding profusely.
Right.
And these sprinkler systems are pretty crazy.
I killed her. Oh my God. I killed my daughter. I didn't know. Forgive me.
Do you feel that Bob has left Leland?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yep. And Leland is just realizing what he did?
Yeah. I saw him when I was a boy in my dream.
Yeah.
He said he wanted to play. He opened me, and I invited him, and he came inside me.
He went inside?
When he was inside, I didn't know. And when he was gone, I couldn't remember. He made me do things. Terrible things.
So, remember I was saying, like, Leland, but you still think...
I'm playing it both ways, and I will for probably the series and stuff like that. But right.
See, he kind of says it. He says that I don't remember.
Yeah.
But, I totally get that confusion because with Jacques, that was Bob probably in Leland killing Jacques, but at the same time, he never hit it or said he just said, because I thought it was the person who killed my daughter. So it's so hard to say, was that really Bob or Leland?
And he does basically say that, like, when Bob left me, I didn't remember. And so sometimes it could be Leland and sometimes it could be Bob.
So Leland remembered killing Jacques.
Did he? Yeah.
He knows.
Okay,
he never fought it. He's like, yeah, I thought that was the guy.
That's still questionable. I still want... next episode, I want to talk about this because we've kind of talked... Yeah, I want to get into the next episode more about that. But so... Here's the thing where I think the long lady talked about a few episodes ago at her intro, were about going full circle and about pain and abuse. It really comes off to me that let's forget about Bob if we can. It appears that Leland as a child was abused. It appears... this is tough. It appears that he could have been molested. It appears that, like... it's hard to say this stuff in a way that, like, he talks about it coming... He came into me, I invited him, but, like, we can look at it as a spirit, but, gosh, it's horrifying to think that we could think of it as an act of abuse, that, like, a physical person could be actually abusing him as a child.
Yeah.
And that's where we could get into the idea of even, like, could he have made up Bob just to be able to feel more comfortable about, like, the abuses that he goes through? And
that's what I was going to bring up after the scene when they're in the woods.
Yeah.
And they discuss everything.
Right.
I guess, let's just hop into that conversation. So after the scene, they're all in the woods, and they have this great conversation. And I didn't think the way you said that about, like, he wanted to play, and I let him in. I took it as the spirit entering him.
And that makes the most sense, and I think that's what they're saying. But gosh, you could take it another meaning. I mean, it's horrific to me to even think about that, but you could take it as a physical...
A double meaning, double entendre, because everything has a dual meaning.
Right.
But in the scene...
now they're in the woods, so, Leland dies in the jail cell, and Major Briggs, Cooper, Truman, and Albert... hang out in the woods.
Yeah, and what you say makes sense because they are all thinking out loud to each other going...
Yeah. You want to bring it up? Why don't we just have it?
Yeah.
Cooper acknowledges Briggs. He says hello, and they're kind of just hanging out at the woods here.
He was completely insane.
Think so?
But people saw Bob. People saw him in visions. Laura, Maddie, Sarah Palmer.
Gentlemen, there's more in heaven and earth than is dreamt of in our philosophy.
Amen.
Well, I've lived in these old woods most of my life. Seen some strange things, but this is way off the map. I'm having a hard time believing.
Harry, is it easier to believe a man would rape and murder his own daughter? Any more comforting?
So that's the whole conversation was like, it was so good because it's like it's conflicting and it confuses the person watching because first they're saying, well, Albert's like, people saw Bob. So then you have that spirit side, and then you're like, well, then Cooper's saying, well, you know, does it make it easier for you to believe that there was a Bob, or that way it feels better? It doesn't, you know, it just makes more sense in your head, or yeah, like you're saying. Was Bob made up? Was Bob evil? Is Bob just evil? And
right, they did at one point. Albert basically says maybe that's all. Bob is just the evil that men do.
Exactly, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, so okay, Leland was molested as a child, and then he's taking that full circle. He's going to do it to his own child.
Right.
That's the evil. That's Bob. Bob is not a real person. Bob is just the evil inside of a person.
Right. And we can take it both ways. Honestly, I mean, and I think it's easier to think of it as a spirit and the devil made me do it. It's much easier, and I enjoy the show as supernatural stuff. And it's hard to think of it as what if the show is really talking about incest and it's really about abuse, and what if that's really the whole concept of the show? And personally, I would rather not talk about that. I'd rather think, it's just supernatural, and let's.
But they take such a horrible thing, and they flip it on its head by giving you the spirit and owls and all this duality, so it makes you question it. But his body, he was taken over because he was weak. Mm-hmm. So a weak person could do horrible things, and a strong person wouldn't. So you have Mike, who is strong now, who wants to fight the bad, and then you have Leland, who's weak because he's doing these horrible things.
Yeah.
But he's using, Bob, if you just take Bob out of the equation,
right?
He's just a bad person because he's weak.
Yeah.
But then the show gives you that padding of, you don't feel so
right.
bad,
It's really the devil that made me do it and stuff. Yeah. I do also like that scene where Leland's dying in the prison there in the cell, and he talks about that. Oh, Lord didn't let him in. Lord didn't let Bob in, and he basically says. At one point he says, I love her. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing in some ways that he says, I love her so much. And then it seems like he sees her, or there's a light. And I mean, in some ways it's a beautiful thing to think that, like, can he be forgiven, and can he join his daughter in the afterlife? We don't know where it goes from there, but it's still, in some ways, there's somehow in this crazy messed up stuff, there's some kind of beauty to think that he loves his daughter and he's so sorry, and maybe she can forgive him, and maybe in the afterlife there's hope. But it's getting late. I know we have to end soon, but maybe I'm trying to figure out if I want to throw this out there, but maybe I will since it's this episode.
Okay.
So we were talking about Mrs. Tremond and her grandson, and all of a sudden they're not in this episode. There's a different Miss Tremond there. Uh-huh. And I don't know if this is a theory that's out there, or if this is my own theory, or what it is, but
I would hear it because I have a theory.
Okay. Well, so Leland had a grandfather in his summer home, but we don't hear anything about the grandmother. And could the grandson be Leland? Could it be Leland? Yeah.
I had the same thought after this episode that it was the grandma in Leland as a kid. But you think they would have switched? They would have made some reference to magic? Because the kid's like, I like to perform magic.
Well, he does, because he does his poem, and the magician longs to see one chance out, or chant out between two worlds, fire walk with me. That is his chant that he in the cell. It's very brief, but he talks about it was talked when the one-armed man did the poem, that the magician longs to see one chance out between two worlds, fire walk with me. So it's small, but it still talks about a magician and stuff.
That's a very interesting, I didn't get that.
I mean, one way of looking at that, I mean, the thing is, the poem was done for the European version and stuff like that. But if we want to reach, we could say maybe the grandson, possibly Leland, longs to see the truth of what's going on, maybe, or maybe the whole idea of a magician is to hide the truth, to hide. I mean, we have that cream corn. Maybe we don't want.
We don't want cream corn?
The problem is, I want to talk about cream corn, but we gotta wait, because there is a reference to what cream corn is.
Does that throw your theory?
If anybody who, What?
Does it throw the theory away?
The cream corn makes perfect sense if we want to get rid of cream corn.
Okay. All right.
But I don't want to get into it right now.
All right. 'Cause I don't know
but
about
anybody who knows cream corn means, you can get the idea of why maybe somebody wouldn't want cream corn
Okay.
Anyways, so you were thinking the same thing, that maybe Leland is the grandson?
Yeah, that was the grandmother, and they were somehow why would they go to Donna? I mean, why Donna? I don't know, but because
Donna's connected to Laura, right? I mean, it's the closest best friend to Laura, so maybe in some ways the afterlife feels like they have a connection to Laura.
I guess, yeah, she was looking in the diary. It did lead her to Harold.
Right.
So honestly, it did help her move her in a good direction.
Yeah. And they actually recommended Harold to her. I mean,
he had the diary.
Right. So maybe that's all.
That was kind of nudging her. I like that theory. I thought the same thing because I was like, who the heck would that be?
And there's no proof of this. I mean, in our whole series in the movie,
but
there's no
good
proof.
Mystery.
It's a good mystery. Yeah. So, well, I think it's getting late. But
well, hold on. Okay, I wrote Mike turning to the owl theory works after seeing this. I wrote great episode, and like I said before, this could have been the last episode in the entire show back in the 90s.
Which I thought for a week it might have been. I really thought
it would have been perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it wraps it up, and it's like you kind of left with, where the heck do we go from here? I mean, like,
yeah, really.
I mean, yeah. Oh, I guess I should ask you. There is one last scene that happens. It's like, so if Bob was real, where is he now?
Oh, well, they show the owl. I think Bob has gone back into the owl spiritually, and is looking for a new host. And
Leland does enough hooting and howling that we're supposed to really make us realize that Bob is an owl.
The spirit are the owls. The owls are not what they seem. So metaphorically or whatever, the owls are representative of these spirits. They could be bad. They could be good. You don't know.
I agree.
And Bob, I think, is going to find another host. I'm assuming we haven't heard the last of Bob. I'm assuming Bob comes back.
That's a good assumption.
You know,
we still. I guess we're technically only a little halfway over the series, but I mean, and this is
So Bob, to me, is going to if I had to predict the rest of this season, he will take us through the rest of this show, and he's going to find another host.
Maybe.
Or he could just be Bob. I don't know. But they give you the owl at the end. I mean, if they give you Bob in full form of Bob, that would be very supernatural. But I kind of feel like he might be he might host someone. I don't know.
Yeah, let's see where we go from there, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to end the show with the last sheriff hotline messages. You know, that was the 1-900 that happened the next day. And technically, they've all wrapped up. During the Thanksgiving week off, they ran this last message, and it didn't even have Andy and Lucy in it. It just had the mystery guy, I think. But it's basically, I think that you could tell they were done. Like it's like they probably weren't successful charging $2 a minute, $1 extra for every additional minute. It's probably So
rather think of it something new to end the show with.
They basically, what are we gonna do? I don't know. We gotta come up with something. We'll figure it out. I'd love to do something like clips from interviews. I mean, there's plenty of things we could probably. But what do you think? Do you have any ideas that you want to end it with?
I don't know. I like the idea. We'll keep it.
Yeah.
We're
always interested in what
something
other people
bonus.
say.
Yeah, if somebody else has a suggestion, please email us at twinpeaksunwrapped@gmail.com.
And you can find us on Twitter at Twin Peaks Unwrap.
And you can like us on Facebook at Twin Peaks Twin Peaks Unwrapped on Facebook. Like us. And we've been getting more Facebook traffic. I've been adding and posting some different things than you get on the Twitter feed. So it's great to be in both communities. And I've been getting a lot of great feedback from the David Lynch and the Twin Peaks boards on Facebook. Like a lot of people, I've been suggesting the show. Hopefully I'm not too annoying about it, but everybody have been positive and like it. And a lot of people have been sharing our show on Facebook, so it's good.
That's awesome. And you can also, we'd love it if you wrote a review on iTunes. Let other people know about this show.
Review, rate us on iTunes, please. It'd be awesome. And we can hopefully one day be in the top 50 I'm waiting. I know we'll do it. I know it.
Our goal really is some Twin Peaks podcast.
Yes.
Let's see if we can do that.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome. That'd be
awesome.
something. So thanks a lot, and we are going to end with the 1-900 hotline.
Yes, and next week Joe Baca will be on the show.
Yeah, and we'll be reviewing. The whole episode will just be focused on the killer.
Yes,
cool.
The killer.
Thanks.
Well, Twin Peaks might as well be renamed Sleepy Hollow this week. With all that's been going on around here, it's no wonder everyone's lying low for a while. In case your mind's a little foggy, I'll recap what's been going on. You see, it all started when the beautiful homecoming queen Laura Palmer was found brutally murdered, her body washed ashore by the Packard sawmill. The murder investigation, headed by FBI agent Dale Cooper and Sheriff Truman, has yielded Ben Horn as the most likely suspect. In fact, between references they found in Laura's other diary and the information from Audrey, they decided to arrest Ben Horn. With his brother Jerry as his legal representative and the taped message from Catherine, well, let's just say I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. Oh, and speaking of shoes, Leo seems to be coming around slightly as his slurring of new shoes tipped Bobby off, and he found a cassette hidden in Leo's boot, which revealed that Ben was behind the mill fire. Oh, over at the diner, Norma's mom and her new husband Ernie showed up. I don't get the feeling that Norma is all that pleased to see them, especially now when all she can think about is M.T. Wentz, the food critic, and getting a good review. It seems Hank recognizes Ernie from their mutual days of incarceration, and I suspect that Hank is up to his same old tricks. Shelley has quit her job since Leo's going to need a great deal of attention. Why, she might just be putting his turkey through a food grinder right now, come to think of it. Donna Hayward is feeling pretty guilty about Harold Smith committing suicide, and also about not getting to say goodbye to Maddie. But she and James seem to be getting along again. The search for Bob is taking its toll on the one-armed man. I hope he can hold out long enough for Coop and Truman to track him down. Oh, the Twin Peaks police just found that Laura's cousin Maddie was murdered in the same brutal manner that Laura was. We know now it was by the hand of her uncle Leland, who has Bob lurking inside him. Nadine Hurley, you might say she over-recovered from her suicide attempt. Well, she now has the mind of an 18-year-old and the strength of 10 men. Ed sure has his hands full with that one. Sure is quiet without Andy and Lucy to interrupt. But they'll be back next week, along with the rest of Twin Peaks.